What you're doing while you listen. The latest from Podnews.net with critically acclaimed, highly addictive CBC podcasts. The majority of Americans listen to podcasts, says new research released by YouGov. The most popular thing your listeners are doing while they listen: household chores. The cliché of falling asleep is 7th on the list. Hindenburg has announced a sneak peek to demonstrate version 2.0 of the popular Hindenburg Pro editor on February the 13th. No details have been shared of the new features, but we suspect that the image on the page, which uses the word transcription, might be a clue. The Podcast Show 2023 in London has announced its first set of speakers, and tickets are now on sale. The event takes place on May the 23rd to the 25th. Ashley Flowers, Jordan Harbinger and Hala Taha are among the speakers announced so far. The Infinite Dial US 2023 will be presented as a free webinar on March the 2nd. The study includes data on podcast consumption, a figure that dropped slightly last year. Podcast host OSHA and TargetSpot have just announced automatic monetization for podcasts in a webinar this morning. TargetSpot works with more than 5,000 advertisers, and coincidentally, your podcast needs a minimum of 5,000 monthly downloads to be considered for those automatic pre-rolls. Podfest Cairo 2023 has been announced. The event is on Saturday, March the 4th at the American University in the city. It's free. The German Podcast Awards are open for entry. You've until April the 16th. Content agency This Is Distorted has opened a new visual podcast studio in Leeds in the UK. Apple TV is promoting MLS Season Pass, allowing you to watch every Major League Soccer match, including the playoffs. It's the start of a 10-year deal with Apple and available in more than 100 countries. Most of them call it football. A bug in the Brave browser for iOS, which was incorrectly inflating podcast download numbers, has been fixed thanks to an eagle-eyed John Spurlock. The Audio Content Fund, a UK government-funded grant which paid for audio content to be made for radio and podcast, has been praised as good value for money by an independent report. However, there's a lack of clear commitment to future funding from the government, which was described by the CEO of Radio Centre as a missed opportunity. For Black History Month, Podbean has announced a free live event with a panel of podcasters talking about their experiences. Kurt Hansen's Rain News has returned to daily publishing, covering the online audio industry. We're delighted to see it back, along with editor Brad Hill. And Nick Hilton, who claimed that podcasting was dead at the end of last year, admits in a follow-up that the title was because he wanted people to click on the article. After landing a guest spot on a BBC Radio 4 show to opine about podcasts, which is more than we've done, and being mentioned in a Bloomberg article, which, well, we've managed that one at least, he admits that he doesn't really think that podcasts are dying, adding that he would quite like you to subscribe to his newsletter. Well, we're taking notes at his clever customer acquisition scheme, but would also like to congratulate Maria, who became our 26,000th subscriber yesterday, in spite of boring article titles like "No, the number of new podcasts are not really plummeting." Andrew Perella has joined Podcast Allies as production manager. The company plans to move into public radio and offer radio show development and host and editor training services to public radio leaders. And in podcast news, semi-qualified queens with Juice Box and Cynthia Kiss is a new signing for the Sona Network, Canada's award-winning independent podcast network. Plastic is everywhere. It's advanced our world but damaged our environment and our health. Discarded is new from Lemonada Media this week, focusing on society's relationship with plastic, as told through the personal story of Sharon Levine, who became an accidental activist in this space. The original Radiolab EP, Ellen Horn, has worked on a new podcast, Admissible Shreds of Evidence, which launched this week, hosted by Tessa Kramer and co-produced by CPM, Virginia's public media station, and iHeart Podcasts. It focuses on allegations of a cover-up within the Virginia Department of Forensic Science. Acclaimed storytelling organisation The Moth is putting out its first new podcast, Grown, all about the awkward time between teen years and adulthood. It was launched yesterday. Canada's Jessie Cruikshank is launching her debut podcast today called Phone a Friend. From the New York Times, Modern Love has returned for a new season, and The Pitch has also launched a new season, the first since partnering with Vox Media last year. The show features investors being pitched by entrepreneurs and sees over $900,000 being invested. This podcast is sponsored by CBC Podcasts. The Africas versus America chronicles Black Liberation Organization MOVE and how Philadelphia came to drop a bomb on its own citizens. It's the story of when the US went to war on an American family. And you can find The Africas versus America wherever you get your podcasts. And that's the latest from our newsletter. To read all the stories and subscribe, we're at podnews.net.